Is not an alien force already among us?
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
From some other species, from another planet, outside in the universe.
Welcome to S4.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to S4, the official radio broadcast of Forest Moon Paranormal, with host Eric Cooper and our panel of enlightened minds. Coming to you live from FMP headquarters located in the heart of Skagit Valley, Washington, at the base of the majestic North Cascade Mountains. We will take you through a journey of exploration as we examine every aspect of the metaphysical. From spirits, UFOs, Bigfoot, and conspiracies, to grounding, protection, astral travel, and everything in between, leaving you with a better understanding and comprehension of the world around you, and the entities that inhabit it. Join us every Saturday night at midnight Pacific Standard Time on the Fringe FM and locally on KSVU 90.1. Remember to check out the Forest Moon Paranormal Facebook page and join in the discussion. Now sit back, open your mind, get ready, because this is S4.
Good evening or morning, depending where you are, and welcome to S4, the voice of Forest Moon Paranormal, coming to you live from the FMP headquarters in the beautiful mountains of Concrete, Washington. FMP is a highly active emergency response team for all aspects of the paranormal, from aggressive hauntings to alien interaction, Bigfoot, and other cryptids, and everything in between is terrifying. S4 is a voice where we discuss these things in depth. You can find S4 on the Fringe FM every Saturday at midnight, PST, where you can also find Lighting the Void with Joe Roop, Shift Happens with Cortana, and Dark Waters. We're also on terrestrial radio with KSVU 90.1 FM, locally from 10 to 12 Saturdays with our pre-recorded shows for the locals. So, folks, tonight it's Veterans Day show. So some of us on this panel are vets. Yes, we're very opinionated, but we earned that right through the sacrifices we gave during our military duty. And tonight you may hear some of those experiences. Tonight we have with us our Keith Andrews, a military family member and our FMP alien race specialist. Cole Wegleitner, our FMP lore and culture research specialist and owner of Statement of Sound DJ Services. So I'm going to bring up some topics in the beginning of the show after Seth Kinsey reads a poem. And Cole's going to take over the show and ask questions. So also we have tonight Meghan Goering, our FMP security detail and astral team, and our missing persons team member, and a Marine veteran, Semper Fi. Seth Kinsey of Dark 30 and our S4 conspiracy specialist, who is going to be on to read a poem in honor of Veterans Day. We also have Brent Dodge. He's on the FMP astral team and a Navy veteran. Michael Hall of UFOI team, our paranormal lawyer. And how's everyone doing tonight?
Just
Very
great.
good.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Doing perfect.
Outstanding.
Excellent.
Good.
So, you
Yeah,
know
I'm
what?
doing
We're going to go ahead and, Seth, go ahead and read your poem. And I know you have a question for the veterans as well, so we'll go ahead and jump into that. Then I have a couple of veteran issues I want to bring up, and then I'm going to turn it over to Cole.
Okay. I'm going to read this for everybody, and then I'm going to let you know that I will be transmitting this program every Saturday night live locally on my Part 15 FCC regulation transmitter, and that can be found anywhere between 88.3 and 107.9. So scan your FM radios. I do not own the rights to a particular frequency, but if you are at Colgate University or Morrisville State University, that is actually the boundaries of this transmission. And I will now read for you and thank every one of you for what you have done for this country. Just a Common Soldier by A. Lawrence Vanecourt. He was getting old and paunchy, and his hair was falling fast, and he sat around the Legion telling stories of the past, of a war that he had fought in and the deeds that he had done. In his exploits with his buddies, they were heroes, every one. And though sometimes to his neighbors his tales became a joke, all his Legion buddies listened, for they knew whereof he spoke. But we'll hear his tales no longer, for old Bill has passed away, and the world's a little poorer, for a soldier died today. He will not be mourned by many, just as children and his wife, for he lived an ordinary and quite uneventful life, held a job and raised a family, quietly going his own way. And the world won't notice passing, though a soldier died today. When politicians leave this earth, their bodies lie in state, while thousands note their passing and proclaim that they were great. Papers tell their whole life stories from the time that they were young, but the passing of a soldier goes unnoticed and unsung. Is the greatest contribution to the welfare of our land a guy who breaks his promises and cons his fellow man, or the ordinary fellow who, in times of war and strife, goes off to serve his country and offers up his life? A politician's stipend and the style in which he lives are sometimes disproportionate to the service that he gives, while the ordinary soldier who offered up his all is paid off with a medal and perhaps a pension small. It's so easy to forget them, for it was so long ago that the old Bills of our country went to battle, but we know it was not the politicians with their compromise and ploys who won for us the freedom that our country now enjoys. Should you find yourself in danger with your enemies at hand, would you want a politician with his ever-shifting stand, or would you prefer a soldier who has sworn to defend his home, his kin, and country, and would fight until the end? He was just a common soldier, and his ranks are growing thin, but his presence should remind us we may need his like again. For when countries are in conflict, then we find the soldier's part is to clean up all the troubles that the politicians start. If we cannot do him honor while he's here to hear the praise, then at least let's give him homage at the ending of his days. Perhaps just a simple headline in the paper that would say, "Our country is in mourning, for a soldier died today."
Thank you, Seth.
Oh,
I've heard
great.
that.
Thank you guys.
Very,
Thank every
very
single
well
one of you
done.
veterans.
That's a very
Got
awesome,
goosebumps.
very awesome poem.
That one hits everybody, I think. At least everybody that's been in the military.
Yeah,
Mhm.
hands
I
down.
got the goosebumps.
Hands down. You know what? Before we actually get started, all of our veterans need to go around and introduce themselves and tell what branch of service they were and when they served. So, Brent?
Oh, okay. I'm Brent, Navy. Unfortunately, I was only a reservist. But when I joined because of 9/11, and didn't get to stay as long as I wanted to, but I pretty much enjoyed every minute of it, though.
I hear you. Megan?
Yes, I'm Meghan Goering. I served from 2003 to 2006. I was, I guess, ended out of service due to a condition not a disability. I was in the Marine Air Wing, and I had the idea that I was going to make a career out of it. So I love my Marine Corps brothers and sisters, and just want to give a quick shout out. Happy birthday. Our Marine Corps birthday is the 10th, which is currently right now. So I just wanted to give a shout out.
Excellent. Excellent. And my name is Eric Cooper. I was in U.S. Army from November of 89 to May of 94, and again from January 95 to February of 2010. I did 19 years, 6 months, and they medically retired me instead of letting me finish out my 20. So, that's the military for you. But anyway, we aren't going to complain about that. We're going to complain about other things. Oh. So, you know what? I'm going to bring up my complaints later. Cole, I know you've got just a statement you wanted to read, so go ahead and then you take over.
Okay. On November 7th, 1920, in strictest secrecy, 4 unidentified British bodies were exhumed from temporary battlefield cemeteries at Ypres, Arras, Assin, and the Somme. None of the soldiers who did the digging were told why. The bodies were taken by field ambulance to GHQ at Saint-Paul-sur-de-Ternois. Once there, the bodies were draped with the Union flag. Sentries were posted, and Brigadier General Wyatt and Colonel Gell selected one body at random. The other 3 were reburied. A French honor guard was selected and stood by the coffin overnight of the chosen soldier. On the morning of the 8th of November, a specially designed coffin made of oak from the grounds of Hampton Court arrived, and the unknown warrior was placed inside. On top was placed a crusader's sword and a shield on which was inscribed, "A British warrior who fell in the Great War, 1914 to 1918, for king and country." On the 9th of November, the unknown warrior was taken by horse-drawn carriage through guards of honor and the sounds of tolling bells and bugle calls to the quayside. There he was saluted by Marshal Foch and loaded onto HMS Verdun, bound for Dover. The coffin stood on the deck covered in wreaths, surrounded by the French honor guard. Upon arrival at Dover, the unknown warrior was met with a 19-gun salute, something that was normally only reserved for field marshals. A special train had been arranged, and he was then conveyed to Victoria Station, London. He remained there overnight, and on the morning of November 11th, he was finally taken to Westminster Abbey. The idea of the unknown soldier was thought of by a padre named David Railton, who had served on the front line during the Great War. The Union flag he had used as an altar cloth, whilst at the front, was the one that had been draped over the coffin. It was his intention that all of the relatives of the 517,773 combatants whose bodies had not been identified could believe that the unknown warrior could very well be their lost husband, father, brother, or son. In Canada, this is the reason we wear poppies. We do not glorify war. We remember with humility the great and ultimate sacrifices that all of the Allied forces made, not just in this war, but in every war and conflict where our service personnel have fought to ensure the liberty and freedoms that we now take for granted. Every year, on the 11th of November, we remember the unknown soldier. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. Thank you all so much for your service. That's it.
Very well done.
And thank you for that reading. And at this time,
Everybody
Cole,
okay?
take over.
Okay. So now, having said that, I know in our government, in the last 20 years, and within this country, the United States, and my own, Canada, there has been a lot of issues with everything from the way veterans are treated to the way their benefits are handled. We've lost the idea that veterans themselves have any right more than anyone else. Some of us have. Let's put it that way. And unfortunately, we seem to put those people in government. What I would have to say to you, or ask you guys, is in what way do you feel this government has failed you personally as a veteran? Not just as a human being, but as a veteran specifically.
Megan, go ahead.
Oh, thanks. Thanks. So recently, pretty much the only few senators or politicians, names, mainstream, Beau Biden, he served. So, and John McCain's son served, if I'm correct. Correct me if I'm wrong. There's few and far between, is what I'm getting at. If we were to turn around and ask of them what they ask of us, I'm sure they would call it differently. There is a huge debate whether our current conflict is legal or illegal, and being prior service, that grates me wrong. I don't like hearing that we might have fought an illegal war or an unauthorized war. But, it's politics. It comes down to politics. And, when you're tasked and you're handed down orders, you really can't argue them, because then you are subject to punishment. And military punishments are a heck of a lot more stringent than civilian punishments. I could be thrown in the brig for a very long time for saying no to an order. The Uniform Code of Military Justice is very strict. And, that was something we had to learn and be very aware of. Different rules. And, if it was fair across the table, I think things would be highly different. So I'll end there and pass it along.
I absolutely agree with you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
When you see half of these posts on Facebook, and actually they've even shown up on newscasts like CNN and different things, where they show what a veteran's benefits look like on paper, and then what these government officials are actually getting paid. And if we put one of them, even just one, on the benefits you guys receive per month, things would change real quick. And that's right.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm going to say this. I think in order for them to serve, as they call what we do, they should be required to do military service. Hands down.
Yep.
We wouldn't go to wars near as much as we do. We wouldn't go to conflicts near as much as we do. They, but no, you've got a Congress that, I want a new boat, so let's vote ourselves a raise. You know what? Congress was originally established, it was a service. It was
Yes.
I can't remember, I think it was a 2-year commitment. They did their day job. They served in Congress.
Yep.
It wasn't a career. You've got 80-year-olds
Never.
in Congress. I've been a congressman for 40 years. Why? It's not a political career. It never was established as a political career. So get the heck out of Congress, go find a day job. Let's see you make it. And take that pension, we'll put that back into the budget. And, oh, by the way, you're going to go on the normal health care that everybody else has. And see how fast this country would change.
Well, you know, I'm sort of a firm believer that if you take the pensions that the politicians are getting, and don't get me wrong, I agree, put it back into the system, but can we put it back into dealing with the veterans? You know, I mean, I hear of so many that are on the street, and I'm going like, you served your country, and the politicians are leaving you living on the street, and the churches are backing the politicians up, apparently.
Mm-hmm. We won't bring that topic up just yet.
Oh.
Well, and if I gotta say, if you took the health care that those guys have away from them, you wouldn't have any 80-year-old congressmen. They'd all be dead.
No, not even a little bit. Trips in the chat room saying, "Bingo! Screw with their health care, gets their attention real fast." And you know, Michael Moore, and I've brought this up on the show before, but Michael Moore on Fahrenheit 9/11 went to Congress. He had a Marine recruiter with him, and he was stopping the ones that would actually stop. Most of them ignored him and kept on walking. But he asked them all, "So do you have any kids that are of military age? And would you put them in the military?" And oh my God, the response he got was, "Oh, how dare you even ask me that?" No. Then why do we have military in Iraq? And yeah.
That would be the first thing I'd be looking at. Mind you, see, I like the old method in a manner of speaking. I mean, I'm a firm believer war is overrated to start with. But I like the old method where the head of the country that was going to war was at the head of the line going into battle.
Totally agree. And, you know, that's any military leader. A true military leader. Just like in the movie We Were Soldiers. That was a real... that movie was based on fact. Colonel Moore was the first one on the battlefield and the last one off the battlefield. I had the pleasure of actually meeting Joe, the TV reporter, or the news reporter that was on that battlefield. And I didn't meet the actor. I actually met the real Joe that was in Vietnam. He came to Iraq and was talking to troops. And, yeah, that's a true military leader. The first one on the battlefield, the last one off. Before, you know, that's how leaders are. True leaders. And while we're on it, and I told Megan before the show that we were going to talk about this, because this is kind of one of my discussion points too, is, so the media likes to stir the pot. And they're stirring the pot with our military being on the southern border. And I'm here to tell you that's not new. We had troops on the southern border in 2007. It's, you know, just because there's a caravan coming, and I agree the caravan is an invasion of this country. It's, if they want to come here legally, fine. But they've all but said, we're not coming here legally. We want to come into your country. We're not going to stop at the border. We're going to come into your country. And that's an invasion. So do I have a problem with our troops being on the border? No, I do not. Not even a little bit. Will they fire on them? It depends on what the rules of engagement are. Was it last week we had that talk, Megan, about whether we'd fire on our own people?
Yep. Yes.
Yep. That's right.
Now, but I don't understand how in the U.S. we went from the first president, George Washington, leading his troops into war for the Revolutionary War, to you guys going to war for a country where your commander-in-chief, that is what his title is, hides in a bunker.
Yep.
They don't even hide in a bunker. They just sit in the White House. That's not even a bunker. They sit
Yeah,
in
it's not
our
even
country.
anywhere near where the bullets are.
No. I think the only
But that's the
president recently, I think Bush went to Iraq one time, if I remember right. Or I may be mistaken. I think they were in Kuwait.
Yeah.
I've got a story about that.
I do remember one of them in recent times actually going over there. I just, quite frankly, I don't follow the news, so I'm not certain which one, but I do remember hearing about one of the presidents ending up over there.
Yeah, but the problem is when they send them over there, they're right behind the resorts in the country, like in the part of the country that's not at war.
Well, that was right.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They stay their happy butt in Kuwait, where there is no bullets flying. All the bullets are going off in Iraq, not Kuwait.
No, they go to Dubai, and then they say they're in Kuwait.
or Qatar, where all the millionaires are. Because, so Kuwait is one of the wealthiest countries in the Middle East, but the actual Kuwaitis do not live in Kuwait. They live in Qatar, or what they call Qatar. That's where all the real Kuwaitis live. And the ones that actually live in Kuwait are essentially the workers. Now, you'll still, and what's really pathetic is you'll find Mercedes and BMWs just abandoned alongside the highway because they go out and buy a BMW or Mercedes, it breaks down. Hey, why get it fixed? We can just go buy a new one. And they just leave it. I mean,
Wow.
Can you imagine that here?
I can. I keep hoping that sort of thing's going to happen, considering a lot of the drivers I've seen.
Right?
Okay, so being that this is a paranormal show, I'd like to feed the hungry masses for a minute. My question would be for you guys. We all know that, as a paranormal team, we all know that spirits can attach themselves to certain items. We also know that when the U.S. military, when someone dies in war, their items are brought back with them. And anything that was U.S. military gear, if it is not in too bad a condition, is reused. Is it possible that sometimes the veterans that are experiencers, that is how it happens?
Yes.
And that's a good point. And yes, it does happen, although, to be honest with you, it's more common for soldiers, say, that went to Iraq and found an artifact in Iraq and brought it back home, for them to have issues due to that artifact than it is for troops that died for their own objects to be attached.
Although I know I ran into a couple of situations where when they brought the item home, it was transferred to another member of the family who ended up going back out to war. And the member of family that ended up with it turned around and would come home with stories of how their uncle or their father, whoever they got the artifact from, was at the battlefield warning them about an ambush that was just up the road.
I'm also going to say you'll probably find more issues at, say, a military museum than you will from TA-50 that was brought back and reissued.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. Leading into that, Eric, why don't you tell us about your experience in Germany that you had?
Which one?
the one, well, pick any you'd like.
All of them?
No,
Yeah.
no, that'd take up the whole show. No, this is a veteran show. This isn't.
Well, so how about we talk about the one with the soldier?
Which one? Fritz?
Yes, Fritz.
Okay. So, actually, in the Black Horse, I had a German soldier, Spirit, that lived in my barracks room, and we named him Fritz. And it was kind of funny because, you know, I knew Fritz. I talked to Fritz. Fritz was cool. He was a cool spirit. And one of my cook buddies came in, and we were getting ready to go clubbing. And he sat on my bed, and I'm getting ready. And I told him, you know, about Fritz. And he says, yeah, whatever. There's no such thing as ghosts. Now, bear in mind, I've never had a problem with my room. The entire, year and a half I was there. Well, as soon as he said he didn't believe in ghosts, my bed collapsed. And I was like, oh my God, you just ticked off Fritz. And I fixed my bed, stabilized it, and, you know, bounced on it for a minute, and yeah, it's good. And no sooner than he sat back down, he says, well, I don't think there's any such thing as ghosts. Well, my bed collapsed again. And he said, are you ready to go? And we left, and he never talked about Fritz again. But yeah, that was Fritz. I've already talked about the wormhole in Hitler before on the show a few times in other shows, so I'm not going to go into that one. Let's see, what else happened? Oh my God, there were so many paranormal events in Germany. Yeah, that's why I asked you which one.
I can imagine.
What,
during this time.
Germany itself is a very paranormal country. I mean, look at all the chaos and look at all the traumatic events that have happened in that country. And I've never been to the concentration camps. I'd never want to go. If you're an empath, you definitely don't ever want to go. And Alon's, Joe. Alon's. One of my cavalry brothers is in the room. I'm telling you, cavalry was my best days in the Army. There's no other unit like the Cav. Hands down. The Cav takes care of their own. And yes, I have my gold spurs. You get gold spurs for going to combat with a cavalry unit. I got my gold spurs for being in a support unit of the Cav unit I was in Iraq. But anyway, Megan, tell us a story.
Okay, I've got a short one. Go to Paris Island. Go to Paris Island. The Marines train boot camp in 2 locations, San Diego and Paris Island. Every single female who joins the Marine Corps as a recruit ends up getting shipped from no matter where you are in the United States. You always go to Paris Island. The male Marines, they are divided straight up the Mississippi. So everybody east of the Mississippi goes to Paris Island. Everybody west of the Mississippi goes to San Diego. My husband was a San Diego Marine. I, being a female, went to Paris Island, even though at the time I recruited out of Hawaii. So 36-hour flight, I get dropped off. I'm standing on yellow footprints. That place, if you guys have ever even thought of the movie Full Metal Jacket, that is a true to life boot camp experience. It was filmed right there in Paris Island. The buildings, the crazy cypress and willow, just the feel of it. It is amazing, and it is amazingly haunted because you are born as a Marine when you graduate boot camp, and a lot of Marines come back after they're gone. And the rifle range area, that is the hot spot. I was actually in a condemned building. I don't think I slept in 2 weeks while we were stationed there because something. And my drill instructors probably thought I was on crack. I mean, I was high energy because I was getting messages and interfered with, and they're just like, she needs to calm down. But I wasn't sleeping, a lot of high energy, and if the walls could talk kind of thing.
Right.
Just go to Paris Island. It is like on my bucket list again. Again, I say that again. But the feeling there to go back as, a vet of the Marine Corps, knowing that I'm not subjected to drill instructors, it might be a little bit different, but the feels there, oh man, major feels. And best and worst time of my life.
As a vet, I gotta say, going back to Fort Lewis is cool, because you pull out your ID and they scan it, and they actually tell you, welcome home, and
oh, cool.
That's a cool feeling. We went back to Lewis. I can't remember when we went back, but it's a good 2-hour drive. You have to go through Seattle and actually through Tacoma to get to Lewis. So I don't like that drive. So we go back very seldom. But we went back, I think it was for Memorial Day. It was some kind of a military day, and I went to a motor pool. The kids wanted to see a Humvee. And, of course, I had my beard, so they kind of looked at me wonky for a minute and checked my ID, and they're like, oh, Staff Sergeant, hey, cool, come on in. And the kids had fun. They got to sit in a Humvee. They actually got to sit in an LMTV, which is a newer version of a 5-ton. They're a crappy truck. I don't know why the military went to the LMTV. I'm trying to remember what the acronym. It's a light. Oh God. Anyway, it's smaller than a 5-ton, but they think it's great. It sucks. It's not desert material whatsoever. The fuel filters went out all the time. It's completely different maintenance in a desert environment from the normal anyway. And it's really interesting because being in a Homeland Security course and being a vet, I get asked a lot of different questions from the professors when I'm in all these different courses. And, they've told me they learn something new every time they have a veteran that comes in that was actually in Iraq or Afghanistan or, in different conflicts. Now, the government wasn't prepared for Iraq. So on a maintenance level, because for those that know me, they know I was a combat medic, and I was also a truck mechanic and a combat medic in all the units I was in. But on the maintenance side of it, when we got to Kuwait, it was January of 2004. There was no up-armored trucks. There was nothing up-armored. They weren't ready for a war. So when we convoyed, it was a 3-day convoy from Doha, Kuwait, into Balad, Iraq. And when we got there, we had about 2 weeks of training, drive-by shooting training, really unique stuff. And, as Delta Force was teaching us and special operations and whatnot, they said, nope, now you can say the government's actually taught you how to do a drive-by shooting. Like, no, wonderful. MS-13, here we come. Woohoo. But the intel that we had was the Iraqis, the insurgents, were actually putting piano wire across the freeway to cut off the gunner's head when we came through with convoys. They were also dropping grenades and other explosives off overpasses. They were putting IEDs in pop cans and dead animals along the highway and in cars parked along the highway. All kinds of crazy stuff. And so to counter the piano wire, we were welding steel poles to the brush guards of the Humvees. So it would snap the piano wire before, it got to the gunner. For armor, we literally looked like road warrior trucks because we were actually welding just random steel plates to the doors because we had nothing else. And we were using plywood, which I don't know of any plywood that stops a bullet, but okay. So we were putting plywood in the windows, we were putting sandbags on the floors. And Donald Rumsfeld, who I despise, went to Kuwait, and he asked some reservist unit that was there if they had any questions. And this reservist asked him, how come you put us here with no armor? And Rumsfeld's answer to that was, well, you got to deal with what you got. Like, really? You're the one who put us here, and we got to deal with what we got. That's a great answer. Love it. But, after about 6 months of being there, they finally got a civilian contract company to retrofit all of our trucks with armor. Now, what they failed to do was to stabilize the engine, to change the components of the engine to hold the weight of extra armor. And so, a lot of our budget, a lot of this country's money went into maintenance that wasn't really necessary, because if they would have retrofitted, the power steering pumps, for example, the alternators, a lot of components that can't handle the extra weight and the extra torsion when you're turning the steering wheel with extra weight on your truck. So we were going through power steering pumps, for example, left and right, because of the additional weight that was put on. And, one of my professors was astounded by that, because that's the first time he'd heard of that one. And he thought he'd heard it all. But that's what happens when your country puts you into a war that they shouldn't be in to begin with.
Okay. Now, Brent.
Yes, sir.
Have you had any experiences while you were in the service?
Well, not many, actually, because I was only a reservist, but my real experience was just the boot camp, really, to be honest.
Yeah.
That was my main one, but I unfortunately found out from one of the guys in my unit, a couple of years after, I got an administrative separation because I wasn't able to make it to my weekends, so they just kind of said, see ya. But okay. I found out a couple of years later that my platoon was ready to go, and it's like, if I'd have just been able to stay.
But you know what, Brent? Here's what I have to say to that. At least you had the balls to serve, unlike a lot of people.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And we do thank
Yeah, that's the thing. The fact that you didn't get out there, it doesn't make you any less of a soldier.
Okay, thank you.
No.
Yeah.
Now, real quick,
Now,
I want to jump in real
ahead.
quick, Cole. Keith.
Yep.
How was your experience as an Air Force brat?
A nightmare, in all fairness. Up here, of course, I'm up in Canada, and we got told, the public got told, no, the Canadians didn't go to war. Right. Now, I grew up at the beginning of the Vietnam War. My dad was in the military from 54 to 74. And the nightmares, because of the way I am, being born empathic and amongst other things, the nightmares that I had to deal with when veterans came home from the war, either physically in one piece or not, there was so much concern on the base as to whether kids' dads were coming home or whether their mums were coming home, that, well, you guys went through, all the veterans themselves all ended up, under fire. I got the nightmares that the people came home with. So, to say the least, my social life wasn't that of a child. I was the one handling the counseling for the kids.
Sorry to hear that.
You know, I mean, I can still, even though, like, where I lived, the end of the runway was, like, the runway came to an end, the tree line was there, and my property was right there. Okay, and we'd have the fighter planes taking off the plane, off the deck, right over our house, in preparation, you know, in training to send them off to war. You know, so, I mean, people look at the adults, but I'll tell you, the kids go through, and the kids that are just waiting at home, there's a whole nother ballgame of nightmares that people go through.
Oh, hands down,
Yeah,
especially when, you know, mom and dad, or just mom or dad, go to war. That's a whole other trauma.
Yep. Family serve just as well as the, yep.
You know, you really have to, you got to give the parents an absolute pat on the back. Anybody that serves. This shouldn't be a question of one day of the year remembering it. That's always been my own personal beef. But much as the adults going in need to be commended, the kids that are being left at home, or the parents that really want to go and help, but are told, you're an only parent, you're not going. Right. The problems that they run into trying to deal with it's just a nightmare all the way around. And of course, the way the government treats the veterans when they get back, that's nothing short of an absolute travesty.
That's a slap in the face. It is.
Yeah.
I want to address a question from Trip. Didn't they stop soldiers getting a certain type of bulletproof gear? So they didn't have the right budget for all soldiers to have plates. And these were porcelain plates that go in the combat vest, the tactical vest we've got. And, you know, Markham's been on, and he actually was going to send his daughter plates when she was deployed. And she was told, no, don't, because if you send me better plates than what we got, even though they're better, if anything happens, the military insurance will not cover it. So basically the military would rather you not have any plates than, you know, your parents sending you plates. Now what's unfortunate too is the fact that we went to a blot from January to January of 04 to 05. Came home, got retrofitted again, and went back to Talofa from November 05 to October 06. And halfway through that tour, our supply sergeant says, well, y'all need to give me your plates back because they're defective. And they gave us the new ones that are supposed to be good. Well, good God, thank God I didn't get shot, huh? Because if they're defective, it would have gone right through these porcelain plates. Yeah. So, you know, that wonderful stuff. And stuff that I know the civilians don't even get to hear about.
The fact that they didn't have the budget, come on. Like, how much money do they put into that budget?
A lot.
If these soldiers can't do their job because they've been shot, it's going to cost more in the end. Because now you have to train a new soldier to replace that one. It doesn't make sense for a $50 piece to not be in every freaking vest.
Well,
it goes a lot way beyond that. I mean, the cost to get a replacement soldier. Now, let me explain the way it works real quick, because every unit has what's called an MTO. Your MTO accounts for every specific piece of equipment you've got and every specific soldier by rank and by job. So, say you've got 3 cooks for a company size of 200 personnel. One of those cooks dies. You're down 2 cooks. And those 3 cooks by rank, you got 1 sergeant, probably 2 specialists. And, you know, you just lost your sergeant. You got to find another cook sergeant to fill that MTO. And that's how your budget works. let alone your personnel. So you have that aspect. Then you have the aspect of the soldier that got killed. You have the cost of the burial. You have the cost of the insurance that they have to pay. And like you said, Cole, over a $50 piece of equipment that they should have had to begin with.
It just doesn't make sense how
Okay,
our government
hold on.
can sit, Yeah.
Okay, I was going to say, let me interject one thing because, okay, this is Marine side. We don't call it the same as Army. It might be different in the Navy too. We call ours, I'm not joking, we call our same thing S4. So, I kid you not. So this is actually not what I'm interjecting. S stands for supply, because, Marines, we like to keep it simple. Our S4 is our accounting, basically, and it's position accounting as well as product accounting. Now, I had, I guess, an upper echelon position in the air wing. I was responsible for doing high-tech maintenance and ordering specialized parts. I worked on electronic countermeasures, which went into the Harriers, Prowlers, F-18s, those type of platforms.
Oh, I love Harriers.
Harriers you mean cool. North Carolina lawn darts? Yeah, no. No, they are. Cockpits are even cooler. So I had to get onto the special system and order these super special parts. And I kid you not, I was paying $36 for one titanium screw. And I'm not exaggerating. This screw was like a 1/4 inch long. I could have went to Lowe's.
$50 for a roll of toilet paper.
Yes. So this is where I'm going to come in. They have made a business out of this. And if you guys have ever watched the movie War Dogs, I kid you not, that is not a spoof movie. That is real. People come up with a plan. They bid to the government likes it. They don't care what the amount is. And those amounts go up incrementally. So we're not talking about $50 chest plates for a flak jacket. We're talking about a $1,500 plate that should cost $50. Yeah. So I'm airing my grievance.
No, it's
Watch
a
it shouldn't even cost $50.
It should cost $50.
Mm-hmm.
It does not cost $50.
The thing,
you know
the
what?
thing that gets me.
What's funny with all that? Because it depends on what it is. It's $50 for a roll of toilet paper, but the plunger is only $2. I mean, it's weird the way it works. Because I worked in the motor pool, but I was also the medic because I was at a signal unit and they didn't have medics. So because they knew I was a prior service medic, they had me doing all the training of the unit. And so I made EMT lanes, basically, and I had them all going through EMT lanes. I taught them how to take blood pressure, how to do IVs, how to do higher level stuff. And the commander gave me an open budget. And he said, I want you to go to the Class 9 warehouse, which is medical supply. I want you to order everything you need to make sure every signal team we have has their own trauma kit and train them. Train one person in each team how to use that kit. And I did. I probably spent about $30,000. And I got each team a trauma bag and I stocked it. And, they have open budgets like that. So why soldiers don't have plates? I have no idea. It's stupid.
Friend, I just don't get it. Like, I don't understand how. I understand how these businesses make money off war. What I don't understand is how the government thinks this is a good deal even for them. Because these are also the same companies that half the time they're giving bailouts to.
Well, let's talk about that for a second.
You see what I mean, though?
You just
it
open up
doesn't
you open up another can of worms because, you know, you got Dick Cheney. So, Dick Cheney with Halliburton and Brown and Root, the two biggest companies, actually it's Halliburton, the biggest company for every aspect of civilian contractors in the military. And they stocked the dining facilities. Now, if you go to any base, they have, you know, a podunk dining facility that, yeah, it's got coffee where the spoon stands up in it. But you go to war, oh my God, they go all out with the dining facility. And so Halliburton stocks it. And at $24 a case of soda. How much does a case of soda cost normally? Oh, what, about $7? And the Army's paying $24. You do the math. And so you go in and you get an apple and a soda. The Army pays $13. You go in and get a full meal. The Army pays the same $13. So yeah, there's billions paid to Halliburton during war. So you want to talk about contractors and civilians that make money off war? There you go.
Yeah, but it just doesn't make sense to me how the government believes, like how a house full of 98 people can actually sit there and all agree that this is an okay deal. And then 2 weeks later, we have to bail them out.
Cole.
Well, how about we give them another deal?
Who paid for the bailouts?
Well, that came out of tax, as far as I understood.
Taxpayers. So it's not coming out of their pocket. Of course, it benefits them. In the long run, it benefits them.
I like the way that it was put in another movie in Independence Day when the one chap looks at him and goes, "You didn't really think they paid $35,000 for a camera, did you?"
Right.
You know, I mean, I really got to wonder, with the veterans being left hung out to dry, where is the money being spent in this military budget? Because apparently it's not going to the military people.
Oh, don't open that door.
Oh, I'm sorry. See, this is what I used to get in trouble for when my dad was in the military, was asking questions that I wasn't supposed to, before I got told not to.
Desert Storm 1. The Kuwaiti government offered to pay every soldier that was in Desert Storm $10,000. Did we even get that offer? No, because Bush said, "Oh, no. We're not mercenaries, but we can donate to the government." So, yeah.
Well, there is another term for that. I probably shouldn't say it, though.
Yeah.
It's okay. The FBI doesn't come that far north most of the time.
I got news for you. The CIA does.
They do. I know. They went to your house. Sons of, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, they come to you for different reasons.
Well, folks, it's time for break. It's time for break. So when we come back, we will continue with Veterans Day, our Veterans Day special.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Times are changing. The circus of politics, healthcare's low standards and high prices, and let's not forget food quality. What to do? Arm yourself with Life Change Tea at GetTheTea.com. In a world of chemical imbalance and poor air and water quality, it's time you make a move. Log on to GetTheTea.com and stock up on organic non-GMO supplements. Don't forget the tea. Cleansing your body never felt so good. And we have a brand new tea called Takedown Tea, which helps support healthy glucose. All natural body support so you can be at your best, naturally. All you have to do is log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. We're not a fad that comes and goes. We are the real deal. Join us and armor up. Getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Changing America's health one tea bag at a time.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Poor water quality is a major health issue, and it's only getting worse. Municipalities can't keep up, standards have dropped, and pollutants are increasing. Where does it all end? It ends by keeping the pollutants outside of your home with HydroCare's advanced systems available at Wave Home Solutions. No less than the best purification materials and processes have been developed by HydroCare to provide you with healthy, clean water for drinking, cooking, and showering. HydroCare far surpasses the competition in removing chlorine, odors, iron, lead, chemicals, limescale, and much more. Don't settle for less when it comes to your water. We'll take care of the toughest water problems for you, whether it's from a city or well source. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, call 888-997-WAVE. That's 888-997-WAVE. Or go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
Do you want to lose weight but have no idea where to begin? The Fast Start Diet, a 3-day weight loss plan, is the answer. 3 days of nutritionally balanced, calorie-restricted meals delivered right to your door. No shopping, no measuring, and no cooking. Everything is prepared for you and ready to eat at home or on the go. The Fast Start Diet has all the amazing benefits of intermittent fasting without starving. We've helped thousands of people who have struggled to reach their weight loss goals. Isn't it time we helped you? With the Fast Start Diet, you'll lose weight and feel great.
Find us on Amazon or go to FastStartDiet.com and use promo code POWER to get $10 off your first box. As a special bonus, we will include our #1 rated Lipo3 appetite suppressant spray free with your order. Whatever your diet plans are, start with us at FastStartDiet.com and use promo code POWER.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now for a special radio offer from Angioprim. That's angioprim.com/radio. ANGIOPRIM. Angioprim.com/radio or call 877-882-7221. That's 877-882-7221.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies in a capsule.
It's a great product. And the one thing I like about it the most is that when you open the bottles, you can smell like the scent of the fruits and veggies. It's no genius thing to it. It's really just fruits and veggies, which everyone needs. And you guys kind of put it in a way where you can take it easy and you can get it, and it's natural, and that's what I like about it. You know, I like the product, and I've taken it, and it's definitely made me feel a lot better. You know, I'm a healthy person to begin with, but it's definitely good prevention, and it's definitely gives me energy, and I feel like it's a natural thing. I like it. I really do.
For a limited time, use discount code TALK. to receive a 50% discount on your first preferred whole health system and have it shipped to you free. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go online to balanceofnature.com. Again, use discount code TALK.
Welcome back to S4. It is our Veterans Day special. Hope y'all are enjoying tonight's discussion. You can also find the archives at our Spreaker site and on the S4 YouTube channel for all the shows you missed in the last 2 years. Anyway, back to the show.
Okay. First thing I want to ask you guys, and we can start with Eric, then we'll head to Megan, and then Brent. What made you choose the branch of service that you went into?
Oh, that's a story in
Or
itself.
was it a choice?
No, it was a choice. It was a choice. Basically, I went to college first semester. I got back home. My aunt had been a dental tech in the Army. And she didn't think I was doing anything with my life, so she kind of went to the recruiter's office and said, yo, my nephew is needing some direction. And we think you should call him. And they did. And they called me into their office, and I was like, that's kind of interesting. And I went down there and I took their little test, and I got a 51, and they're like, oh my God, you got a high score. And I don't know if it was high or not. Yeah, whatever. And they took me down and did the ASFAB. I got a 109, which is, you can get any job you want with a 109 for the most part. And I told them, I want to be a combat medic. Well, it's funny because I believe it was the Navy that called after I'd already gone to the Army, and I told the Navy, yeah, I've joined the Army. But that's how I joined. And they had me brainwashed into, I could have, up until the point where you raise your right hand and take the oath, you can back out. And you actually have up to 6 months if you really don't want to be in. They're going to screw with you. But if you really don't want to be in, you can get out on a failure to adapt discharge, which is honorable. But they had me convinced I made it. I went to basic, and yeah, they grabbed me by the throat. Back in 89, 90, they could still grab you and beat you down and whatnot to an extent. But I enjoyed it. I did Desert Storm in Somalia in the first hitch, and that was 89, 94, and I got out, and yeah. Anyway, Megan.
Oh, okay. So I've got a long and short version. So, short version first. Marines. So, yeah, long version, which I love sharing. My uncle was a fisherman up in Alaska, and we'd always fly out of Seattle, and we would see him off at the airport. And I remember I was about 4 or 5, and we went, and back then you could walk your family to the gate, and the pilot was there. You can converse with him. We actually went onto the plane, and I was in my uncle's arms and giving him a huge hug, and the pilot walked up and, just kind of like grabbed me by the collar and like got my attention, just ruffled my jacket collar. And he said, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I grabbed his collar and shook it, and his wings were on the lapel and everything. And I said, I want to be a Marine Corps pilot just like you. And he looked at me funny because he didn't, he was like, I'm an airline pilot. I'm not a Marine anymore. And I was just like, I want to be a Marine pilot just like you. And that's the whole thing. My goal, Marine Corps pilot. I was going to work my way up from enlisted, chief warrant officer, and make a career out of it. It was just a lifelong goal. So, but yeah, short story, Marines, can you really argue with our dress blues? Sorry, guys. Hoorah.
No, understand.
The answer is yes, we can, but That's just why I got in trouble a lot of the time.
Right.
It's going down, Arkeith.
Well, let's face it,
Brent.
you wore blues and so did my dad. So, yeah.
So
All
what
right,
made
Brent,
you
let's
want
hear
to
from
join,
you.
Brent?
Well, actually, I got to go with Megan on that one because I was actually trying for the Marines, but didn't quite score high enough on the ASVAB, and so I kind of like, well, kind of had the choice after that. It's like, I want the Army or I want the Navy because actually my dad was in the Navy back in the 50s, so I'm kind of like, yeah, I'll go more to that route. But even though one of my brothers was in the Army, but yeah, I'll go the Navy route. Because they got better looking dress clothes than the Army. So.
Well, and they got cool boats.
Yeah, this is true.
Hey, Army's got river boats.
Yeah. No battleships, though.
I'm not going to touch that.
Yeah, I don't think we want to go there.
I was thinking of the other type of boat that the politicians have, but, you know.
No, you don't ever call a boat to the Navy. It's a vessel.
No.
No, it's a boat. It floats. No, it's a vessel. Oh God. Yeah, you want to stir the pot? Tell them it's a boat.
You should have tried Christmas around my house. My dad was in the Air Force. My uncle was in the Army, and the other uncle was in the Navy.
Well, I'll tell you what. There's conflict. I agree, but let a civilian mess with any one of them when they're all together.
Oh no, the civilian's going to be hurt.
Absolutely.
Badly.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
That's the one thing you have to give the military, and because it carries right into the families, where you can say what you will, military to military, in the same country.
Mm-hmm.
But just like with our family, we don't talk to each other, fight with each other more often than not. But the second you've got a common threat, boy, are you in trouble.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, the military is a family in its own, even no matter what branch or anything.
Oh, yeah.
Brothers and sisters in arms are brothers and sisters in arms regardless of what their branch was.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
All right, I gotta ask you guys. What is the one thing on a day-to-day basis during your service that you absolutely do not miss, hated, never wanted, never want to see again?
Oh, that's an easy one. PT.
Oh.
Getting up at god-awful 6:30 in the morning to do formation and then go run 7 miles. I don't miss it.
I think we were up at 6.
No, 6:30 was revelry, and that's when the flag went up. And then we went out and did push-ups, sit-ups, other monkey things, and then ran.
Run a mile?
Yeah. Cavalry now, they ran 7 miles. Normal units, we ran 2 or 3. And, I think what I hated more than that was actually getting called out to do cadence. No. I got out of that real quick, though. They don't like kill cadences. So, yeah. Only did it twice, and they never asked me again.
So you did it well right off the bat, eh?
Huh?
I said, so you did it well right off the bat, eh?
Oh, I did. Because then, the company formation, I sang that particular cadence, and they're like, oh my God, no, we don't kill. Well, why are we in the Army then? The Army I know kills. And so, I got reprimanded, and the next day we actually had a battalion run. And I'm running along, and I hear, Sergeant Cooper, get out here and sing cadence. I'm like, oh my God, he didn't learn the first time. So I got out there, I sang my kill cadence. Well, I didn't know the Colonel and the Sergeant Major were running right behind me. And, you know, the Colonel and the Sergeant Major are like, oh, I love that cadence, Sergeant Cooper. Well, the first sergeant and my platoon sergeant they didn't catch on to that, but, you know, Sergeant Cooper, get back in formation. I'm like, okay. And, yeah, it's like, whatever. They never asked me again.
Megan, how about you?
Actually, I've got a really tough one. So I'll pass to Brent, but I'll go after Brent. It's hard.
Okay. My worst was actually, in all honesty, I've got claustrophobia, and we do fire training. So I donned all the fire gear and the mask and everything, and we climbed through this smoke-filled room, supposedly, and we're supposed to grab the victims, quote unquote, as you go through this room to save them from the burning fire. Mm-hmm. Well, my claustrophobia kind of kicked in, and I just kind of pulled myself along the wall as fast as I could and got myself out of there as fast. And then I get out, take the mask off, and see the chief, and I just saw the disappointment. It's like, oh man, that was my worst time there.
Oh, I get that. Yeah, no, gas mask training. It was an annual thing for us. That was hard.
Oh yeah.
No fun.
Well, the gas mask wasn't so bad.
I didn't mind the gas mask, to be honest with you.
What was that?
I didn't mind the gas mask.
No, it wasn't bad. Yeah. No,
the
maybe
NBC
Marines
chamber
did it different.
No, we went. So we all filed into the NBC chamber, with our mask on. We took the mask off. We had to say our name and our social security number, and then drop and do push-ups.
Yep.
Then we had
we didn't do the push-ups.
Oh God, yeah. We all dropped into push-ups in the CS chamber, and then we put our mask back on, resealed it, and went out.
Oh wow, that sounds like an easier way.
Okay, so Marines go in unmasked.
Oh.
The smoke goes off. Smoke goes off. The instructor says, gas, 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 and does the arm signal, which is just pumping his fist. Yeah, pumping his fist towards his head. Gas, 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 3 times, right? Mm-hmm. So we've all got to don our mask, and depending on what qual you were, which was MOP level 1, 2, or 3, sometimes there were full suits involved, and we had to 3 times do this with the gas full bore. And we came out of there, I kid you not, snot for days.
Oh, yeah. Hands down.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you don't touch your eyes.
We did jumping jacks. We did push-ups. We ran around the room.
Wow.
It was good fun. So Marines
no wonder you didn't like yours.
Serious with the gas.
A CS.
Gas.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Okay,
so for listeners that don't understand, so you have to put on, and it's probably the same in the Marines, you've got 9 seconds to put your mask on and sealed. You have 7 minutes. What was your guys' requirement?
Oh, I think it was 6.
6
seconds? I think it was 6 seconds. Now, don't quote me. I've been out for 13 years, so... It was short, though.
It was 9 seconds for us, 7 minutes for the full
mop.
Full mop 4. And that was with... it's different now, though, because I know the mask we have now doesn't have a hood. It's just the harness and the canister. Because the new mop gear has a hood that goes over you.
Oh.
And it's not the old charcoal mop gear that we used to have.
Oh. Wow.
So
okay.
Is it better?
It is better.
Oh yeah, it's improved. I'm sure it's improved.
And of course, you got the overboots. I think the worst part was the overboots, because I mean it's easy enough to throw pants in a jacket, and you got to make sure everything's buttoned up and zipped up. And but I think the worst was the overboots. If you didn't have the right size, then you're barely getting them on.
Yeah. Okay, you guys ready for my hard day?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was, stationed with Marines. Marines are typically the first ones in. Sometimes we are put in situations that have a higher casualty rate. So my worst day, which I never want to do again, is something we call last roll call. And it was a service held on base. And basically, for those that were fallen, we would go through. They were being honored. And we would have a slideshow. We would have boots and rifles posted up on the stage. So if it was a service for 3, there would be 3 sets of boots, 3 sets of rifles, 3 series of slideshows, all honoring said Marines that were fallen. Basically, it was a final send-off from our unit. We would go through, and people would be called out as a typical muster roll call. So we would say Sergeant Davies, Corporal Goering, Lance Corporal Harris, and everybody would say present, right? Mm-hmm. Well, we'd get to the said fallen Marines, and they would repeat it 3 times with no answer.
Yep, and then they play taps
for each one, and that is my hardest. We at one point in 2004. We were doing it on a weekly basis. I was losing that many Marines out of my unit, out of my command. We were doing it on a weekly basis. And yeah, sometimes it was 1, sometimes it was 3. But I always attended. I never want to do that again. But on the other hand, I would like a civilian to sit in on that and feel the energy change in that room and feel how it is for a family member to be lost. And, you got to stay composed as a Marine.
Oh, yeah.
I feel for you. I really do feel for you, but it's not the civilians so much I'd like to see sit in on that. It's the politicians that send you there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Well, I will say, we see quite a bit with the fallen brothers in blue, the Blue Line brothers, however you know them as, law enforcement. Mm-hmm. There's been a huge outpouring of support for them, and they are televised. You have to watch them at noon, and they're, on one channel. But you see the procession, you see the outpouring of support. What happened to the media? I'm going to sway with this. Okay, forewarning, I'm swaying. The media used to show air transport delivering fallen service members.
Yep.
And the coffins draped with the Star Spangled Banner. They used to advertise that. Not advertise. That is a terrible word. I'm sorry. They used to broadcast that as a reminder that this is the cost of war. This is the cost of conflict. And they stopped doing it. And now there were FCC fines. There were FCC fines for showing 6 caskets and some National Guardsmen who were accompanying those caskets out of Washington, D.C. Those bodies were being escorted to Arlington National Cemetery, their rightful place of rest, and they were fined for airing that. That is a huge fallacy, in my opinion.
No, hands down. Hands down.
Yep.
And,
wow.
I've been... When we got back from Kuwait in 91, within 3 days one of my buddies was killed in a car wreck. I mean, you know, he made it through Kuwait.
Oh.
And he gets killed in a car wreck. And so I was in the platoon that lost a soldier up in the front. And I've still got his memorial paper. But, yeah, no, I know exactly what you're saying. And, you know, I had a soldier that committed suicide and had to sit through his.
Yep.
And so, yeah. And in Atlanta, when I was stationed with 3rd Army, I was on funeral detail. And, you know, no. I was on the gun salute detail. And
nice.
We had, you know, training after training after training after training. Because when you do a 21 gun salute, you can't sound like popcorn. You have to have, you know,
precision.
It has to be precision.
Yes.
And yeah, I was on funeral detail for about 3 months. And yeah, those are bad details.
Yeah.
To be on.
Thank you.
So cool. Next topic. Let's move on.
All right. Well, I do have to say that one was very hard to hear, and thank you guys for sharing. But now I got to ask, and this one I am not looking for. Everyone knows you guys have a huge brotherhood. That is one of the best things you come out of that army with, and out of your service with, sorry. What I want to know is, what is the one thing you miss? And I mean food, bed, anything you had that were given by the Army or by a civilian. What is the one thing what is your best memory for something that you can't get as a civilian? But as I said, I do not want the brotherhood part, because we all know that you guys are very close-knit, and that is an amazing thing already. But there's got to be something.
I'm going to be completely honest and say taking care of soldiers. And that's separate from brotherhood. I'll tell you that right now. But taking care of soldiers. You know, I was an E5P, and I had 13 soldiers that I was responsible for. Now, let me explain what that means. So, on your day-to-day in maintenance, you're talking servicing 300 trucks, troubleshooting 300 trucks, getting these soldiers on the job. Now, outside of that, you're also responsible for their personal lives. And that sounds bad. But, you know, okay, so I've got one soldier that is having domestic violence issues. So I've got to deal with that. Don't even have a soldier get a DUI, because as their NCO, you're responsible for that too. If they don't pay a bill and a bill collector calls the first sergeant, guess who's answering for that one? You're basically you're basically babysitting 13 kids. Quite literally. So,
come on, kids are worse. Don't even.
Oh no. Now,
these are grown kids.
Those are bad days. Those are bad days. I think the good days are when you're doing promotions. When you're actually pinning their rank on. When you're actually taking them to a board so they can get promoted. And I took my soldiers and we played Op 4 for one of the platoons that was in the field. Now, Op 4 means we played the enemy. We had fun. It was pitch black. And we infiltrated their platoon with concertina wire. Which, yeah, we just kind of threw a pallet over the concertina wire and jumped over it and started popping at them with M16s. With blanks, obviously. But, we had fun. Those were good days. But that's what I probably miss the most out of being in the military, is taking care of troops. And, you know, in between Iraq tours, they try to get me to go. They pull me for. So any E5 will get either pulled for recruiting duty or drill sergeant. And I got pulled for recruiting duty. Now, having PTSD, recruiting duty is a career failure. You know, I have a buddy that they did get for recruiting duty, and he was diagnosed with PTSD with recruiting duty, and it killed him. It literally, you know, they destroyed his career. But I had to go to a psych eval to see if I was good enough for recruiting duty, and I told the psychiatrist, "You better fail me." Well, I can't. Like, you better, because I won't go. And he said, "Well, why can't you go?" And I told him, well, because we're about to go back to Iraq, and I belong in Iraq. I don't belong in a damn office getting kids into the Army. That's not my job. My job is bringing kids back from war. And that's where I belong. Not getting kids into the Army, because I'm not going to lie to them. And, well, needless to say, they did fail me for recruiting duty, but that's what I miss. Megan?
Oh, me! Okay, so you said not to say it, but I am going to say it because it's big with the Marines. Camaraderie. I miss it. You know, you don't have to explain yourself ever to another Marine. There is an unspoken, you went through the same that I went through. There is a universal understanding with every Marine. Yeah, all of them are different, but we were born as Marines the same. So, additionally, I miss the traditions. I mean, I said it twice now. My thing was I was going to be a career Marine. An injury, a stupid injury, ended that for me. So I am so hung up on the tradition. It was a lifelong goal. My family was like, "You're not joining the Marines." Yeah, I joined the Marines. You know, the little rebel inside me was like, no, this has got to happen. So I miss the tradition. Marine Corps is super big on traditions. We have a ball every year. We infiltrate Facebook every day on the 10th, every year on the 10th of November. That is our birthday. And then we have a second wave of infiltration for Veterans Day, which is the following day. I'm sorry, Facebook. We have, a 2-day infiltration rate. So we love it. And it's big. And, the tradition, most of all, and this is for me personally, I miss the cockpits. I am obsessed with planes. It's in my blood. I've pursued recreational aircraft, and it's in my veins, and I cannot explain it any other way. I was meant to fly. It's where I go. It's my happy place. I miss sitting in a cockpit. There we go. I miss working on the computers, and I absolutely miss the camaraderie. That is unexplainable, and I can never convey it. It is the tightest bond that I've ever had. And yeah, I am getting choked up a little bit, so excuse me. But I
want to add to that, because it doesn't really matter what branch you were in.
No, it doesn't.
But civilians will never understand the boots you walk in.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's frustrating, because I don't have many military friends around me anymore. I've got 2 in Alaska. I've got they're all over the place. So I don't get to talk to my boys or brothers and sisters anymore. It was hard enough getting anyone into the show. Sean was the only one that could get in, and his battery went dead, so he can't be here. And that's why our team clicks, because we have veterans on FMP's team. Megan.
Yep.
And Brent.
Yep.
And Tony.
And Sarah.
Huh?
Oh, yeah.
And Sarah.
Is Sarah military?
Yeah.
Yes. She was Army too, wasn't she?
Yeah, National Guard.
Why wasn't Sarah in here? I didn't know Sarah was military. Damn it.
Oh.
Yeah, so shout out to other FMP, Tony and Sarah.
Oh, yeah. One branch I know, but gotta say it anyway.
See, I keep telling you I'm the odd man out here.
No, you're
Rod.
You're fine. You're a Air Force brat.
Oh, hey, let's do a throwback question to Arky. Was there something that you loved and don't love about upbringing in military life?
Yeah, there you go.
Well,
and I'm sorry, Brent. I just totally bypassed your love question.
No worries.
Well, that's okay. We can do Brent's love question first.
Yeah, how about we do that? But yeah, I'm curious because I want insight as to military upbringing because my brother has 2 children that are too young to understand military life right now, but he's planning on making a career out of the Navy. That's why I'm entitled to say boat. I'm entitled to say boat. My brother is in the Navy.
You're just picking a fight with him.
Boat.
This is just called stirring the pot.
I'll let you get away with it this time, but...
Yeah, right. Just this one. Okay, so what do you love? What do you miss, Brent?
Well, I'm with both of you, actually, because I really love the camaraderie, as even though it was said not to be said.
I know, right?
I'll keep that one short. But I can understand a group on the wanting to help people, because in my mock battle, basically, I had to get a guy on a stretcher across the battle zone through this obstacle course, and I actually just thoroughly enjoyed that, because it's like all these bombs going off around you, quote unquote, and bullets going by and all this kind of stuff, and I actually just felt right at home, and I'm like just yelling at the other guy that's trying to help me get him across the field. I'm like telling him which way to go and telling him, I'm trying to. I really actually took control and just enjoyed every minute of that. It felt right at home there.
Yeah, right.
Sounds weird, but
nah, I get it.
Can I honestly say to you guys, thank you. I can't express how that honestly made me feel. The fact that I asked you for the things that weren't something that was truly a byproduct of your service, but was what your service gave you, the ultimate thing. That's what you gave me. And I can't, that is why you guys were made for that. That's why you guys did the job that you did. And that is why other people can't do that job, is because those people would name some type of food or some type of thing. Every one of you brought up something that every one of your answers was about someone else. Not about
right.
you.
Well, the sandwich bar in Iraq was great too.
Sandwich bar. Hey, Marines never got a sandwich bar.
Well, if they're in Iraq, they
It wasn't in the budget.
Sure you did.
We didn't either.
The emphasis on the sand.
No, hey, the best food that we had was probably on those wonderful Navy vessels.
Oh yeah,
boats.
You mean the boats?
Hey, I'm limited to one boat mention. I've used that.
Well, I meant this time is in this whole conversation. It's all right.
So I'm going to announce this real quick. We are not going to do a break at the top of the hour. We're just going to keep on going through, but we are doing a 3-hour show tonight. So just keep right on going.
Okay.
Alrighty then.
That's good.
So,
Okay. It's R. Keith's turn. Hold on. Let's pause. I'm taking over the show.
See, now that's how you know you've got a Marine on your hands.
Right?
Right.
Half right.
Stamped up on a purple crayon.
Just chain of command just goes out the window and the Marines take over.
Yeah. Oh, hey, that's not a joke. I was stationed on a Navy base, and here I was, a private first class, so an E2, and I'm bossing around in the Navy, it was a petty officer first class. I kid you not. I was bossing around someone who had 5 ranks on me, and he took directions without argument.
Not entirely surprising under the circumstances.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's what Navy does.
I was the only Marine in the shop, and I worked alongside a public contractor who was hired in. He made $162,000 a year, while I was making roughly $6 an hour.
No, 25 cents an hour.
Well, okay, you win.
We're on a 24-hour clock.
20, right? Not an 8.
Yeah, it wasn't an 8.
Hey, I'm really not good at math.
And that's why you were an intelligence analyst.
Right, in the Marine Corps.
Yeah. Because they don't have to be good at math.
Yeah, this is way too easy a setup, so I'll just bite my tongue.
Okay, R. Keith, you have a question to answer. You have two. What did you love and hate about being a military dependent?
Well, I'll tell you, I was lucky. I didn't go through the issue of myself transferring, but the worst thing I personally had to deal with, and would that I didn't have to, was explaining to kids my own age, and we're talking, I started doing this when I was 10 years old, explaining to them why mom or dad weren't coming home anymore. Because mom and dad, because the adults were going, well, they're too young to know, so you can't tell them. Me being a kid, I was like, okay, I'm younger than they are, so suffer with it.
Yeah.
But the look on the kid's face, and much more importantly, the feelings of loss that went with it, I would love to never go through that again. Sadly, I'm in a boat where I'm going to anyway.
Yeah.
The positive side of that was when I was telling them they were, everybody, their whole family was up for transfer, and they were going to a better location in a lot of cases. But the nightmares that came out of that were no fun. I don't think nightmares can ever be fun. But I think the best part for me, and of course, this really boils down to being an empath, was literally the feeling that I got off of people when the parent that everybody said, no, that person is not coming home, they were lost. And I'm looking at the kid going, I don't know where they're getting their information, but your dad will be home. It's just going to be a little later. And sure as shooting, the father would show up on the doorstep with people with the military going, well, our intelligence said that he was dead. And I'm looking at them going like, oh my gosh. I
want to bring that up too, is you have to give more to Vietnam, War I, and World War II vets than you do today. For the simple fact that back then when you went to war, until that first letter came back, nobody heard from you.
No.
Where today, being in a signal unit in Iraq, for example, if I wanted a phone line, I'm in a single unit. I got my own internet, my own phone line. I had no problem calling home. And big difference from combat back then to combat today. What really sucks and what Veterans Day is really geared for is so people can make up for how Vietnam veterans got treated.
In a lot of ways, yeah. I mean, you'd be going weeks and sometimes months before you'd hear anything about whether somebody was there. Whether somebody was still breathing. The number of times that I ended up dealing with family members, and I mean family as in other members, other families from different branches of the military, because I was one of the few kids in the area that seemed to know which people were still alive. And I mean, it was really very much like a deathly silence, waiting to find out.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so getting into it a little bit, how do you guys feel that this administration has handled our military in the 2 years that he's already been in his seat? I don't want to say in service.
Oh, just say it. How is the commander-in-chief doing?
Doing what?
Yeah. That's the question.
I've got no respect for the fact that he's never served and likes to count his ROTC time and dodge drafting. Aspect. How he's treating the military today, I think he's doing good with, and I cringe at saying that, but I do think he's doing good with the military as far as beefing it up.
Yeah.
So, there's pros and cons to him. I'll say that. I don't like the man. I don't like a lot of the stuff he's doing, or has done, or has not done. But he has done good with the military. And like I said earlier in the show, I think sending a battalion or 5,000 troops anyway to the border was a good decision.
Depends on if he sends them there to build the wall. That's a little rough.
No.
Sorry, I had to say it.
Well, and I agree. But he's sending them there to keep the caravan out. Now, if that's his only motive, then by all means, I agree with that.
Yeah.
But that's all I agree with.
Okay.
Megan?
Megan, how do you feel?
Oh, yeah. No, I've got some stuff to say. Okay, so...
Uh-oh.
One excellent decision. Mad Dog Mattis. Sorry. Partial to Marines here. Don't know why. But Mattis was amazing. He could have not picked a better candidate to fill that position. Mm-hmm. However, he is very inclined to war and conflict, and his objective is to win. So I kind of had the let's buckle up for a ride kind of mentality, but so far it has been very, I'm not going to say neutral because it's not neutral, but it could have escalated. We could have invaded any and every country that we wanted to.
Nope.
However, we haven't. So there's hope.
I think he's bound by certain protocols as well with that, though. He's not going to get, well, with Republicans in command, they are the ones that are prone to war. So he'd probably, it depends on what the situation is, the sitcom.
Yeah.
Versus, he's not going to be allowed. The American people won't allow him just to go invade a random country.
No.
So he's controlled on that side. On an off topic with Trump, I think the best decision he made recently was getting rid of Sessions.
Yes. Well, Sessions kind of stepped down. Well, okay.
He
so
was asked
the other
to resign.
Yes, asked. So the only other point I was going to make, and John McCain, late John McCain, had a huge part in this. The Montgomery GI Bill. Okay. That is monies set aside. If you serve your country, you get X amount for college after your service or during your service. You can pay into a kicker, which will up it to about $36,000. I'm not positive on the numbers, but
with Montgomery, real quick, because I was in the Montgomery GI Bill, but I upgraded to the post 9/11, which is much, much better.
Yes.
The Montgomery GI Bill, my first year in service, I had to put $100 a month for 12 months into the Montgomery GI Bill.
Yes, you pay into it to get money out of it.
Right.
Yes.
But it didn't, it paid for your tuition and that was it.
Yes.
The post 9/11, they actually stepped it up, and I actually get, because I'm using the post 9/11 right now with school, and it pays my tuition. It gives me $125 to books, and it gives me $800 to housing.
Okay.
So I actually make money going to school, and it goes,
Yes.
it covers all the way up to my bachelor's degree. That's 4 years. So the best decision they made was the post 9/11.
Exactly. So here's my personal beef, but commendation to Trump's administration. Okay. So I signed up for the Montgomery GI plus the kicker. Mine expired in 2016. In 10 years, once I got out of the military, I immediately had a child, and it took me, early child rearing years. I was stay-at-home mom. I worked a couple part-time jobs. I was not set on a career path, and the only career path that appealed to me would not accept any type of VA benefits. Okay, so here's my predicament. I had a 10-year limitation on mine. However, Trump just declared this time last year, that he was going to make it non-expirable.
And I
commend him for that, because it took me over 10 years to get my life back to normal after military service.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's deserves a pat in the back.
Yeah, I don't see why there would be a expiration date. There shouldn't be, because we earned that.
With the original Montgomery GI Bill and the kicker, because I did not upgrade to the post 9/11. I just didn't want to do the paperwork. I was tired of paperwork. And this was me being in a bad spot after getting basically kicked out of the military, but honorably. But again, my goal was to be a career Marine. Okay, so me getting discharged, I say kicked out. Other people would say honorably discharged. You ended my career because of something you could have fixed, but didn't want to acknowledge. And that's a whole different can of... We need a sound effect for can of worms.
all you gotta do, if you go to the store, you can buy a can of Catelli spaghetti pre-made, and it'll do your job nicely for you.
Just pop it. So I need that sound effect. So my little can of worms I'm opening is, the VA classification, I guess, because I was discharged with a condition, not a disability, and I had to fight to prove to the VA that it was a disability. However, I am receiving VA disability benefits. They don't acknowledge my actual injury. So think about that. They've claimed it as a back injury, yet my sternum was shattered. And my whole left side of my ribs dislocate. I can open, say, a Dr. Pepper or the pickle jar. I can grab anything in that twisting motion. My ribs dislocate, and I literally hit the floor. I lose my breath.
Did anybody check your X-ray to make sure that the doctor looking at it realized the sternum was in the front?
Right. Well, sorry, Brent, for this, but I had wonderful Navy corpsmen that maybe had looked at 2 X-rays prior.
Wasn't me.
I was a guinea pig.
Yeah, he didn't look at that many.
Yeah, I was pretty much a guinea pig. There was one time I was stuck 17 times before they found a vein.
Oh, God. Okay.
My
I want to add to that, because I heard straight from the corpsman. So, when we were in Somalia, I ran 2 ambulances on the seaport of Mogadishu. And we took over a little blown-up restaurant and made it a clinic. And I ran the ambulances supporting that clinic. Across the parking lot from us were the Navy corpsmen. And they weren't allowed to drive their ambulance off the compound after dark.
Too dangerous.
I guess they didn't have enough purple crayons or something, but they weren't allowed to drive after dark, so we actually had to go pick up their patients if they had to be evac'd and take them to the hospital. Now, I heard straight from the corpsman that, oh my God, you guys get so much more training than we do. We can put a Band-Aid on, and that's about the extent of it. So, yeah, they probably looked at your sternum and thought it was, I don't know, your spine? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, so
the problem
that is...
Megan, you're just built backwards.
That's what I was almost wondering. But, like, civilian terms, they're like, oh, yeah, you've got a lot of scarring on the front of you.
How did that get there?
Yeah, right? It's a mystery. But so this is the frustration that I've ran into, where the VA actually does not acknowledge my actual injury. They call it something else so I could fall into a different bracket.
Wow.
So, however, back to the Montgomery GI Bill, mine expired. Okay, 2016. Nope, it expired. It had a 10 years, and I had to actually enroll a child under the age of 23 into college for it to be able to be transferred. So with that, my child in 2016 was not even 10 when this happened. I lost my Montgomery GI Bill. I paid into it, yet it's lost. It expired. I can never touch it. So every bit of college here on out, I'm paying out of pocket, even though it should be my VA right, because I paid into it. So that's my little beef, but I'm very, very happy that Trump said anybody who currently has a Montgomery GI entitlement through the military service program, it never expires, and it is fully transferable to your children, no matter their age. I was so happy to hear that. I commend him and McCain for doing that. However, I do have a personal beef with Trump calling out McCain during the campaign. We all know what I'm talking about when he said he doesn't like someone who's a loser, who, basically got captured. He saw McCain as a very individual, and I took very large offense to that.
Well, especially someone, coming from someone who, again, has never been in the military, he had no.
Yeah.
No, just no.
That.
Yeah. Okay, moving on.
Yes.
I only say that they should have. I don't pay much attention to it, but I say that they should have at least the very, very, very minimum have gone through boot camp for like the full extended boot camp, and just to get at least a taste of the military if they didn't serve. But I think they should serve.
Politicians?
President.
Well, I think we should go to the way the Germans run it. Everybody is required to serve 2 years.
Yep.
The only way you get out of military is if you are going to a trade school or you are in college. It's the only way to get out of it.
You should try the way they do it in Switzerland. Everybody that is of age goes 3 months out of the year, regardless of if you have a regular job.
Oh, there you go.
And that's just life. It's got nothing to do with, just for a period.
Don't get me going on Switzerland. Just don't. That country has it together. Just saying.
This is true.
See, this is why I get a kid. The one thing I have found, and I've always held this, that when I look at Canadian military compared to American military for the most part is a whole lot more patriotic. They're a whole lot more unified. Canadian military has a slightly different experience, different outlook, or at least where I grew up, it had a very different outlook. Yes, the rules were there, and you were required to know what they were. Of course, the majority of the kids thought that just meant you needed to know what they were so you knew how to break them. But the fact of the matter is, sure, they didn't. The Canadians I was dealing with didn't necessarily follow standard protocol, but push come to shove, and you couldn't get them to back down. You put a common, just much like the American military, you get a common threat, and you guys come out of the woodwork even if you're not on shift.
Right.
Yeah.
So, Cole, you back?
Yes, I am. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine. So, what's the next question?
Okay. So, I don't know if he's already answered this. This is the only problem. But my next question is actually for Arkeet. How do you feel about the current administration in Canada has treated our vets there?
Now, I was told I wasn't allowed to swear. And, the sad part is, I haven't really seen a beneficial side to it. I mean, don't get me wrong, I am very much behind the military themselves. But the administration here, first of all, doesn't supply the vets, even the currents, with the necessary working equipment, which does have the advantage of making vets extremely, shall we say, innovative in their approach. But they aren't. You still see, the vets not getting covered. They don't pay them properly in the first place. I mean, I find it absolutely appalling that the military is one of the lowest paid professions, and yet it's the one that is required so that everybody else can actually get paid.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I agree with that for both countries.
Yep.
It just doesn't make sense to me, but, the administration, and, I am very happy with the administration for putting education as a priority. Like I said, I've always been against outright war in the first place. But if you're going to have a military, for pity's sakes, would you mind taking care of them? Because they don't.
No. I want to throw a question in here real quick from Seth in the chat room. So do we as vets think that the military should create an MOS for those with disabilities so that they can serve the country? Or do you think this would create a liability?
I actually... Oh, go ahead.
They've actually done that up here. There are people with disabilities now, certain disabilities, can serve in the military in certain fashions. And they did have it, well, they've always had it here. If you're in the military, if you're healthy when you go in, if you develop epilepsy in the military, they don't throw you out. They shift you to a non-combat zone.
Okay.
They won't take you on if you're epileptic to start with, but they don't muster you out just because you got ill.
Exactly.
Is that how it...
I like that.
Yes. So I've got a lot of insight to that. So I joined the Marine Corps in 2003. March of 2003. In October of 2003, during combat training, I sustained my sternal injury, where basically I was cracked open like a crab, and my whole left side dislocated, and my sternum became shattered. They told me to suck it up. Again, it was kind of like, oh, this female Marine is complaining. She just wants to get out of duty kind of thing. That was not me. You'd have to understand my personality to know that I was in a lot of pain to be complaining. Basically, I sucked it up. I tried my best. I went through training. I completed training. I entered the fleet. I was having recurring injuries because I kept dislocating my ribs. I could not wear a 75-pound pack during our normal course of operations. I could not go to full muster. I was put on what is called light duty, and I was reassigned out of my countermeasures department into what is called a CMCC department. It was a secondary billet, which means I was reassigned a job. I was given a second job. CMCC is classified control of, classified material control. And I ended up running intel for our entire command. My original fleet deployed in 2003. We went in with the initial deployment, operation. Hold on. I'm blanking. I'm totally blanking. I'm sorry. Okay, so Enduring Freedom? No. It was the one that preceded Enduring Freedom. But basically, my whole group, my whole fleet, my whole MALS, which is Marine Air Corps Logistics Squadron, deployed. I was left in the rear, is what we called it, which meant it was a skeletal crew that was maintaining command. I was receiving all the intel. I had to evaluate it. I had to send it to my XO, which is my executive officer. He was the second in command of the entire base. That was my job because they didn't want to dispose of me right away because I had value. However, once the fleet returned, I was immediately released of service because we had able-bodied Marines that were fully deployable who could complete my job. The only good thing that came of it was I got a NAM, which is a Naval Achievement Medal, for my outstanding ability to maintain classified records and provide intel. So as far as disabilities, the Marine Corps' goal, anyway, which is a department of the Navy, so this falls under Navy Marine Corps standards, you have to be fully deployable to be of service in the service.
Mm-hmm.
Which means you have to be able-bodied physically and mentally. And also with the mental component, there is such thing as called Section 8 in the Marine Corps, at least. If you have any type of mental impediment, I will say, you will be Sectioned 8, which means you're basically kicked out because your mental capacity is not what is required.
Oh, which
So
movie was that?
I can understand.
There's a movie about Section 8.
Is there?
Yeah.
Well, I know that the A-Team had one that was, you got Murdoch there. But I'm wondering if you're thinking the one about the one flew over the cuckoo's nest.
No, it has John Travolta in it, and he was one of the Section 8. I can't remember the name of the movie, though. Great movie.
You just didn't stick with the name, eh?
No.
Oh, it was Iraqi freedom. Sorry. Okay, our initial deployment was Iraqi freedom, and then it was followed by enduring freedom.
You mean Iraqi occupation?
Yeah. Iraqi freedom, air quotes.
Honestly, that is something that I've always not felt too keen to talk about, is how the U.S. handled that whole situation in, like, the government, not the government. But
it's
one of my favorite things came out of it.
What's that?
The meme that has the American Eagle, and it says, "Scientists just discovered oil on Mars. Looks like Mars needs some freedom."
No.
Well, it's kind of like we renamed, Somalia from Operation Restore Hope to Operation Prolong Hope.
Prolonged hope?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Well, that's not fishy at all.
Well, you guys have seen the whole current Space ISIS meme that's floating around, right?
No, I haven't seen that one yet.
Oh, no. Speaking of the Trump administration, let's backtrack a little bit. Sorry. No, there's a meme, and basically it's some really very convincing redneck guy with a very famous red hat saying something about make something great again. And he's being asked a question, what's the purpose of a space force? And he looks completely clueless, and he goes, Space ISIS?
Oh, God.
Well, that'll go over like a lead balloon.
Oh, wow.
It's floating around on Facebook right now.
I was just thinking of the actual side effect of putting that kind of force in outer space and see what happens. Talk about a short tour.
So Seth wants to know, what's our opinion of these guys who dress up and wear rank insignia?
Oh, really?
Guarding the toilet paper aisle with their shotgun. I haven't seen that yet.
Me neither.
Talk about opening a can of worms, though. Jesus.
Yeah, I thought that was going to hit more local. Just saying.
Oh.
Are you sure we don't need to take a 5-minute break? Discuss, regroup, plan, demonstrate military strategy.
Well, let's talk about stolen valor, because I get asked, what is stolen valor?
Oh man, can of worms.
No, I'm going to explain it real quick, because I don't care if people want to run around in ACU pants, BDU pants, that's fine. That doesn't bother me none. But if they're going to go around and they're going to put patches on that they didn't earn. I earned my Black Horse patch on the right side. So if you see someone with a patch on their right side, that is called a combat patch. You earn a combat patch by going into combat.
Yeah.
And if you're going to run around in a uniform and you're going to have a patch on the right side, you better damn well have earned it. Now,
wonder who you're talking about.
The difference is, if you're going to wear that same uniform and you're going to set up or go into a bar and try to get free drinks, go to a store and try to claim military service to get a discount, that's a felony. Any kind of financial gain of false military is a felony.
But see, okay, so I'm not a service member, but I believe that should be more than a felony.
Well, execution is a little harsh, maybe.
I was just thinking
Don't execute them. If they do that, make them join.
Yeah, there
right?
you
Okay, that works.
Yeah.
like that.
So,
Sorry, going the wrong way.
I would disagree with that because I'm not going to put real soldiers in conflict with that kind of a person. You're going to force a person to join the military like that, you're putting real soldiers at risk.
No,
but whoa. I'm not saying put them on the same lines as you guys. I'm saying you guys need target practice, don't you?
Okay, I'm on board with that.
And I'm not saying you guys need to use real bullets on them, but a life of 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. of every day getting shot at with paintball guns, well, maybe that's a good idea.
No, you know what?
Yeah,
Rubber bullets hurt worse than paint gun bullets.
Yeah, but see, from what I understand, the Canadian military still uses live rounds, so they got to learn to duck really fast, or they're not going to live very long. Although I don't personally have a problem, but But the thing is, if they're going to do something like that, like try and gain the financial benefit, at the very least, you can send them through boot camp.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I say.
Yeah, and reading a book does not qualify.
No.
Reading a manual doesn't qualify.
Yes. Sorry, manual.
I think it's the master sergeants that get to do it a lot of the time, and I'm probably wrong on that, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm absolutely certain you take somebody like that and you put them in boot camp, the master sergeant or the instructors and what have you will absolutely use physical force to help them over the obstacle course.
Oh, absolutely. They'll be their pet project.
So, I haven't heard about this one, but Seth is bringing up, did we hear about the actor who cut off his own arm and lied about service to get acting roles?
What?
I haven't heard about that.
Okay, that's a little bit psychotic.
Oh,
assuming
okay,
that's
so
totally off kilter.
Okay, hold on. Let's do a shout out to Seth and have him kind of give us like a setup for this, because I have no information on this unless somebody wants to Google it.
I'm just saying, if that's Pauly Shore, I'd believe it.
Yeah, but Pauly Shore still has his arms.
So, well, while I was going to say I would like to interject one thing, because my husband has patches that he has earned. I have a patch that I've earned. And once our service ended, we retired our patch, which meant we took it off. It's Velcroed. It's completely sewn into our uniform. We ripped that patch off, and we have a shadow box that we put those patches in. Those patches are not to be worn once they're retired. End of service is retiring those patches. So I don't care if patches are a gift or if they're earned. Once your end of service is done, you respectfully retire your patches. That is Marine Corps. That is what I believe. You don't wear multiple, you don't wear multi-branch patches, whether it's squadron, combat, infantry. You do not wear them in combination with others. It's not a showpiece. It's not something to be displayed. I have a very big beef with it, and Stolen Valor is near and dear to my heart. I don't care what the gain, whether it's notoriety, business goals, or financial gain. Stolen Valor is completely unacceptable, and yeah. I'm just going to stop right there.
Okay, well, no, I'm going to lead into that with, so a lot of people believe that our youth...
Where's that can of worms sound?
Yeah, I know. I'm so sorry. This is so hard.
I
You're going to pay for that one.
I wanted to ask you guys if you believe that the youth of today have lost touch due to whatever reason with what this day means.
Absolutely.
And if that has an impact on the idea of stolen valor. And
it's not just the
there is a lot of youth going out there and wearing fatigues and different things.
You could buy them secondhand.
You can, and there's an entire store at a mall in Canada dedicated to buying those types of clothes.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes. In West Edmonton Mall, there is a store for military items of almost any country.
We used to
buy
have
a German military outfit.
You know, we used to have one down here in Kelowna.
Now, the thing is, the owner of that store has gotten in trouble a few times because in order to sell certain uniforms, he puts patches on them.
Yeah, should get in trouble.
Okay, so I have a fun fact for everyone before we start answering this question. Okay, Marine Corps tradition, like I said, it's big. Marine Corps tradition, if anyone is ever portrayed in a Hollywood movie, there is one fallacy with their uniform.
That's
a
military.
Marine.
That's military wide.
That's military in, well, mind you, I only have Marine Corps training. So I'm saying Marines, but we can negate Marines and say every branch.
No, that's any movie, though. In any movie that portrays military, there has to be a fallacy in the movie set.
Because it cannot be 100% real uniforms, real badging, real name tapes, everything. Something has to be wrong with that uniform setup because the actor or actress wearing said uniform did not earn it. And that is huge with military tradition. And I guarantee it, every single movie that I've ever watched that has portrayed a Marine, I can pick out the fallacy, as can every other Marine on the face of this earth kind of thing. And, you know, negate Marine, like I said, I'm trained Marine, you know, insert Army, insert Navy. One thing is wrong with that uniform. We can tell it.
Oh, yeah.
General public can't because it's a movie. But Hollywood even honors this tradition. So you get some Joe Blow wearing our patches, unauthorized, you know, unvalored, and I'm making that a word, unvalored.
Since we're opening up cans of worms here.
I know. I'm just gonna stop.
Oh no!
I'm not.
You remember that thing about showing Marines the rules?
I'm sorry. I'm just duct tape. Go fast tape.
Oh no! This is going to open up a can of worms. So, what is your thought about football players kneeling for the national anthem?
Really?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Not being a sports fan, I'm going to ask why anybody's complaining about it at all.
Personally, and I'm going to get ridiculed for this, but I don't have an issue with it.
Oh, you stole my answer.
Oh, okay.
Like, I mean,
I can explain it. You want me to explain it?
Yeah.
Okay. My husband and I both do not have an answer for an issue with football players kneeling on the field. We are huge football fans. Huge. We don't miss a game. Okay. Yeah, I know it's a pastime and it's distracting, but it's our family time. Whatever.
Enjoy.
Exactly. We do not have an issue because that is your First Amendment right. And you know what? We fought for it. So if you want to take a knee, you know, you're not doing anything disrespectful. You are kneeling during the national anthem. It states nowhere that you need to stand and place your hand. It states nowhere.
Exactly.
In 1953, the Pledge of Allegiance was changed. The Pledge of Allegiance, you are supposed to stand and place your hand over your heart. Nowhere is it written. Okay? If you want to demonstrate your First Amendment right and protest a right that you feel is being infringed, go for it. Because I fought, I served, and I can tell you, if that's how you want to do it, go for it. People are going to listen, or they're not.
Or they're going to make a big stink out of it. And
exactly.
the ones that make a big stink out of it are the ones that have an issue. And
are going to
Twitter at 3 a.m.
Well, real quick, Cole. The ones that have an issue with it haven't served.
No, they haven't. In my
opinion, that's what I was going to say.
Okay.
I have asked 3 people that have publicly put out that they've set up videos of them ripping up season tickets, doing all that. And I asked them, "Did you serve?" And the first answer was, "No, I'm a Republican."
That explains a lot.
What does being a Republican have to do with it?